Hello everybody, this is Risky998, also known as David. So this video is going to be about the install of this carbon fiber gauge pod. It's a dashboard one for the EVO X. I will leave a link in the description for where to find these because I haven't been able to find one online for left-hand drive EVOs. But I know a guy on Instagram that makes them, so I'll link you guys to it. But real quick, a little side note, I want to show you guys. I have this titanium upper inner core piping and radiator piping. I'll go into detail on a video on that later, but I'll be putting that in once I get back from deployment. So I'm super stoked about that. So putting this in is a pain in the butt. I'm brushing off molten plastic all over myself right now. So basically it goes right here. So you can already see the work that goes into installing this, but it goes in this section of the dashboard right here. Now to get to that, you have to, obviously, as you can see, I did a terrible job. This is my first time using a Dremel, but you have to cut for the gauge pod to fit in there nice and secure. So I got a little close on this hole up here, but it should be fine. But to get to here, to cut this, is a big process. So here you can see some of the pieces that I've cut, just trash. But this piece right here, there's a way to take this off without cutting it. Like you see how I cut it and fucked it up. But I couldn't get to the screw up here, so I ended up just ripping it off, which, you know, sucks because I didn't want to break more than I had to. Obviously that part right there is broken, but I didn't want to break this because I wanted to resell this or something, this little piece of dash, or keep it for later. But I fucked it up. So if anyone has a replacement part, it goes right here. If anyone has a replacement, hit me up because I might want to get one. Just for future use if I decide to take this gauge pod out. But anyway, so there's a way to take this off without breaking it, but let me show you guys. So I can't turn the light on, unfortunately, because I disconnected my battery. Make sure you disconnect your battery first, just so you don't set off your airbag, because that would be a bad day. So this piece goes right up here, kind of like this. You know, it smushes down, but you can't just pry it off. It's not that simple. So the first step is to take off the glove box. So to take off the glove box, there's screws, screw here, screw there. There's like 5 or 6 screws. You take out that drawer, and then there's the piece behind it. You take out that too. And then I removed this bottom piece down under here, but I don't think you actually have to take that off. I was kind of just figuring this out as I went, so I removed some pieces that don't really have to come off. As you can see, I started to take off this trim. Hold on, I'm waiting for my camera to focus. I started to take off that trim back down there on the side, but you don't really need to take that off. So once you have the glove box out and the part underneath, then you can kind of get up in here, and there's all kinds of screws you have to take off. It's very hard to show it with the camera, but there's screws you have to take off that basically allow this part to lift off. So I got all of them off except for these upper two, which I just couldn't reach, and I ended up fucking cutting this, and then I ended up just yanking it off once it got weak enough. So there's a better way to go about that, but now it's off. So I just used a Dremel with the little saw attachment and cut a rough outline. I'll have to touch it up, but cut a rough outline of where I want the pod to go. Now, the next step before I put in the gauge pod, this Bluetooth controller right here, which was mounted like this to that part, I'm going to mount that back there on this metal piece. I think this is my AC right here. I'm going to mount it right there, and then I'm going to proceed to put my AC vent back in and put my glove box back in, and then have everything nice and neat the way it was, and then put the pod in after that. So I don't have any gauges yet, but I know which gauges I want to order, so I'm going to be ordering those and getting those installed when I get back from deployment. And after that, it's just going to be a matter of cleaning up all the molten plastic all over my car. You see all this plastic flew up when I was cutting. But yeah, guys, so I will be back in a few minutes with the gauge pod installed, hopefully, and you guys can see how it looks. All right, thank you, bye. All right, guys, so I've finished the install of my gauge pod. Leslie was washing her Lancer, so now it's super clean. I didn't get to watch the EVO because I was spending the whole evening putting this thing in, but, you know, I guess I'll watch it tomorrow. So let's go ahead and look at it. It's not perfect, but I'm still pretty happy with it. So I went ahead and put back in all the trim down here, I'm sorry I wasn't using my flash earlier when I was recording the video, but this is the piece of trim that I pulled out that you don't really need to take out. So it's all back in. This part's not back in perfect because I broke off the little clip that goes in there, but that's all right. Put the radio back in. I actually put back in this trim. I haven't had this trim in since I made a video about taking it out, like probably months ago. Reconnected my battery, of course, now that this is all done with. So the trim is in, the glove box is all good to go and back in. Pretty, not perfect, but this little piece of trim I have over there in a box. I'm not going to bother with it right now. I took this out, put it back in, put the air vent back in, and here is the gauge pod. So as you can see, the fitment sucks. It's got like these little clips right here that you see that are kind of come with it. They're made out of carbon fiber, these little clips at the bottom. So it's got it up top, so I clipped it in up top. It's got on the side. It's kind of clipped in the side with my radio. And it's got them down at the bottom. That's supposed to clip in onto this trim. But no matter how I put this trim on, I can't get it to line up. I can't get it to stay on there. So I eventually just said, fuck it. I'll just leave the trim on because at least holding these clips, it kind of holds the gauge pod up. But yeah, the fitment's not very good. I'm still happy with the look of the pod. Like, I think it looks awesome. It's just the fitment really sucks. I mean, I've only seen one other person that has this pod. It's actually where I found it on Instagram. And the guy that has it, his looks perfect. And he told me, he was like, yeah, I just put the trim back on and put it on the clips and it lined up and it fell right into place. Mine just did not seem to be doing that. So, I don't know. If I pull this trim out, this will drop down a little bit. So right now it's kind of pushed up. See how it's up a little bit? So this will drop down. And then when I go to put this on top, it just won't line up. It just won't fall into these clips. They're just not working. So I said, fuck it. I pushed this trim back on here. I'm keeping it here. It's kind of holding this pod from falling out of place. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I mean, it's like a crack, but it's not the end of the world. But hey, in the future, oh, this is something I got today too. Don't shift miss. It's a funny little JDM badge from the Rally Arts. But I want to carbon out my interior eventually. So I'm thinking about the glove box, this trim, the trim that goes here, the trim that goes over there in that hole, this center section for my radio. I'm thinking about sending them all out to get them, and maybe this section too, around the shift. Possibly a few others. Because you can find like some parts like here and up top up here. You can find those online, but most of this stuff, they don't have carbon pieces online, or if they do, they're really expensive. But I'm thinking about sending them out to have them either overlaid in carbon fiber, because I know a couple shops that do that as a custom service, or get them hydro dips. I've seen some people that hydro dip in true carbon fiber, and it looks really good. Like, it looks really realistic. It doesn't look like it's fake. It doesn't look, you can't really even tell it's dipped. You think it's just real carbon fiber. So I might get that done. But I haven't really decided yet. That'll all be after I come back from deployment. But when I get back from deployment, the first thing I'm going to start working towards my performance goals for the EVO. So that's going to be what I'm going to do. Performance, exterior, or performance, exterior, engine bay, interior. I don't know what order I want to do those in. Definitely performance first, and then I don't know about afterwards. Maybe performance, engine bay, interior, exterior. I don't know. But I got a lot of plans for the EVO. If you guys look in the description of my video, I have all my little documents for, you know, those 4 sections that I just talked about, my plan and like my parts and everything that I have for each one. So you can kind of look at what I have planned for the EVO in the future. But yeah, I've got big plans. Even if this fitment sucks, I don't know. I might figure out a way to make it work. Maybe I'll try to figure out how to make this fit. Maybe I'll see if the shop can do something, but it might just be like that. That might just be how it is. But my car's not a show car, at least not anytime soon. So it's fine for now. But the cool part is, Now when I'm sitting over here driving, I'm going to have my boost, my air fuel ratio, and voltage for my intercooler, or I mean temperature for my intercooler going. And then my access port, I can have the other gauges that I don't have in here. So that should be plenty of gauges, you know, that should be plenty to read. I definitely have my boost first, because that's one, or my boost and air fuel up front, because those are the ones that I really want to keep an eye on. Maybe not, I'm not too worried about my car now, because it's basically stock. I've barely done anything to it, so I'm not really worried about it exploding on me. But down the line, when I do more performance to it, it'd be good to be able to monitor things. Yeah, guys, that's basically it. So install of this thing right here is kind of successful. But so if I took this trim off, the fitment wouldn't even be an issue. But because I haven't had this trim on for months. But the problem is this doesn't really have anything to hold it in place. So I kind of have to put the trim on to hold it in there. Otherwise this will kind of fall out or pop out. But then when I put the trim in, then it's got this fitment issue. So I don't know. I'll have to figure it out. But by the way, taking off this trim is super easy if you guys ever want to take this off of your car. It's got so there's a plastic piece right here on the glove box. This pops off, and then you take off this one bolt, and then this whole section literally just pulls out. It's like 5 clips. It doesn't have any bolts. And then it's pretty easy to take off this section over here too. So you pull off one part, and then it just pulls out with clips. So there's a little black piece over here that you guys should have that matches this long piece right here. I'm thinking about getting those overlaid in carbon fiber. So I don't know why that's still going. I gotta pull that off. Alright guys, but yeah, that's it. I just want to show you guys the install of this gauge pod. You know, it's real carbon fiber. It looks great. Obviously the fitment sucks, but also I don't have this center part right here isn't stock. This is just an aftermarket thing that the audio shop stuck in here for my radio to fit. So that might be why it's not fitting up perfect. I don't know. But it looks like it's literally just like if I pull this trim off and this drops down, then this trim will not fit over those clips. So that might just be how it is. Yeah, guys. So that's how that is. If you guys are still interested in this, it seems like sometimes they fit really well. Like the other guy that has it, sometimes they look like mine. If you guys are still interested in this gauge pod for the dashboard, it's a unique place to put your gauges versus having them up on the pillars or up on your dash up there. So if you guys are interested in this, I'll still put the link in the description. But yeah, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. All right.